But we can't be under any illusions. At the end of a conflict in Ukraine, however it concludes, we are going to have a very big Russia problem. We are going to have a situation where Russia is reconstituting its force, is located on the borders of NATO, is led by largely the same people as it is right now, is convinced that we're the adversary, and is very, very angry.
This is my video update on this Wednesday, midday, July the 24th. Let's talk about some news, and let's start things off with the mistake I made yesterday in my video update, where I said that the Kamala Harris campaign had raised $80 billion in one day, and that was a new campaign record. That is a mistake. I meant to say $80 million. The Kamala Harris campaign had raised $80 million in one day. That is still a record for raising funds for a campaign for a single day. But it's $80 million, not $80 billion. And I kept on repeating the $1 billion. I kept on repeating it throughout the video. That is a mistake. I'm so used to talking about billions of dollars when I talk about all the money that is swishing and swirling around the political elite in the collective West. It's always billions that I guess I couldn't believe the million number, but that was a mistake. She raised $80 million. So I apologize for that error. And, you know, I didn't even catch it when I was uploading the video. I didn't catch the error even as I was uploading the video. Usually I catch mistakes that I make. And sometimes I'll put like a scrolling text or something within the video. And this time I didn't even catch that mistake. So I uploaded the video with the $1 billion in there, and you guys caught it in the comments. So thank you very much for pointing out that error. And yeah, it's just part of the format that I do, the walk and talk format. If I make a mistake, either I have to scrap the video because I do everything in one take. I try to do everything in one take. If I make a mistake and I catch it, then I have to either just throw the video in the trash and go outside and do a whole new video, or at least I can add some text into the video, but I didn't even catch it as I was uploading it. So that's one of the pitfalls of doing these outdoor walk and talk videos. You can't really do much editing or jump cuts or anything like that. Reshoots. If you do a reshoot, you pretty much have to start from the beginning again. So anyway, even Zelensky called me. Even Zelensky called me after I published that video. Can you believe that? Zelensky called me. Yeah, he called me. He said, Alex, is it true $80 billion? $80 billion in one day? Podolyak, call up this Cameron Diaz person and figure out how she raised $80 billion in one day. I could buy many homes with $80 billion in one day. Mr. President, it's not Cameron Diaz. That's an actress. It's Kamala Harris. Anyway, even Zelensky called me. He was excited, very excited. $80 billion in 24 hours. Wow. All right, let's talk about Kamala Harris. And the Wall Street Journal is reporting that should Harris become president, if she wins in November, I think she'll be president much sooner than November. But the Wall Street Journal says if she does win, then she is going to fire the current Biden foreign policy team. Austin, Blinkety Blinken, and Wonder Boy Sullivan, they would be gone if Harris were to become president. The Wall Street Journal also said that if Harris does become president in November, then she is going to take a different approach with regards to Israel and the war in Gaza. The Wall Street Journal is saying that Harris is going to be much more sympathetic to the Palestinians. Do I believe this? No, I do not. I think this is an election trick. They want to, now that they got Biden out of the way, someone who was very hawkish with the war in Gaza, they want to now present a Harris who is going to be much more sympathetic to the Palestinians, not as hawkish when it comes to the war in Gaza. And they're doing this because they want to trick the Muslim voters in Michigan into siding with Harris. This is all about winning Michigan. That's why they want to present a Harris who's going to be less pro-Israel when it comes to the conflict in Gaza. I don't buy any of this. This is an election trick. It's all about Michigan. It's all about trying to win back the Muslim vote that has abandoned Biden. That's why they're trying to present a Kamala Harris that's not going to be so war crazy when it comes to the Middle East. Anyway, that is the Wall Street Journal. That is what they're saying about Harris. And we are getting a whole bunch of polls that are being conducted. Right away, we are getting polling numbers which show that Harris is either even with Trump or is actually beating Trump head to head. Harris leads Trump according to Reuters Ipsos. Harris leads Trump 44% to 42% in U.S. presidential race. Of course, this poll surveyed, I believe, 30% more Democrats than Republicans, but still, Harris is in the lead. Right away, we are getting polling numbers which show Harris is winning. Politico, they put out an article with the title, Harris neck and neck with Trump after campaign launch, new poll finds. There you have it. Harris is either neck and neck or she is beating Trump, according to the polls. That came out right away, right away. Once the coup was complete, and now the coup is complete, and this was a coup, make no mistake about it. Actually, we're getting proof of life video now of Biden. I think he's supposed to speak later on today, but we got the first video of Biden leaving his home in Delaware. I believe he's on his way to the White House. But now that the coup has been completed, we are in phase 2, which is to trick the American voter. Trick the American voter into believing that Harris is going to beat Trump, that Harris is ahead in the polls. Harris is dynamic, she's young, she's energetic. She's the prosecutor, Trump is the felon. That's what this vote is about. It's about the prosecutor versus the felon. It's about the energetic, dynamic Harris against Trump, the bad orange man. That is what phase 2 is going to be all about. And so now you have the polling data. Harris is ahead or Harris is neck and neck with Trump. Phase 2 of the coup. So that is the news about Kamala Harris. And we got the news yesterday of Kimberly Cheetal, Miss Cheetos, the Secret Service director. She gave a train wreck of a testimony the other day, and on day 2, she decided to resign. She decided to call it quits. Finally, she decided to resign. After what was a first day of testimony train freaking wreck. I mean, she didn't answer any question that was thrown at her. Not one question did she answer. Miss Secret Service Director Cheetos, was it a lone gunman? I can't tell you that. Miss Cheetos, was it many gunmen? I can't answer that. Miss Cheetos, was a rifle used? I can't answer that. Tell us about the sloping roof. I can't answer that. But I take full responsibility for everything that happened. We failed. That is what she said. We failed as the Secret Service. I'm not so sure what she means by we failed. Did she mean that the Secret Service failed in protecting Trump or the Secret Service failed in something else. Anyway, she said that we failed. She said, I take full responsibility, but she refused to resign. But then 24 hours later, a little bit more than 24 hours later, she finally resigned. Finally. So that news came in yesterday. Let's now talk about Project Ukraine, and let's talk about the Russian frozen assets. We have an article from the Financial Times with the title, EU moves to ease US fears over 50 billion Ukraine loan. Commission set to table measure to indefinitely immobilize Russia's central bank assets. The EU is considering indefinitely extending its sanctions on Moscow's state assets in a move that would soothe U.S. concerns over plans to use the proceeds of Russian central bank funds to fund a $50 billion loan to Ukraine. So I have to confess something to everybody that is watching this video. I'm confused. I am confused about the Russian frozen assets. 2-3 days ago, or the interest earned on the Russian frozen assets. 2-3 days ago, the outgoing EU Foreign Minister, Jungle Joseph Borrell, he announced actually that the profits from the Russian frozen assets, the 1.5 billion, is going to be given to Ukraine in August. That's going to be delivered to Ukraine. So the interest, the profits earned on this 250 billion or 300 billion of Russian frozen assets, Borrell said, the money is going to be given to Ukraine. Did he not say that? Am I wrong about this? If I'm wrong, let me know. But I was under the belief that the money earned from the frozen assets, the interest earned, will be given to Ukraine. Now we get this report from the Financial Times, which, and I don't know, maybe I'm reading this wrong, but I don't think I am. The Financial Times is basically saying that the United States and the EU, they're about to give Ukraine another 50 billion, another 50 billion. My God, how many billions have they given to Ukraine in the last 6 months? Anyway, they're going to give Ukraine another 50 billion in the form of a loan. The EU member states and the United States, they are going to be the lenders. So they're going to be the ones giving Ukraine this loan. And in order to ease the concerns of the United States as to how they're going to get paid back from their share of the loan of the 50 billion that they're going to give to Ukraine, the EU is saying that the interest earned on the Russian frozen assets is going to be the money that's used to pay back the United States on this 50 billion loan. And they're going to freeze the Russian assets indefinitely, so that the U.S. is not concerned if in 6 months the EU says, let's unfreeze these assets. Because every 6 months, the European Union, the way it is right now, every 6 months, the EU has to take a vote on whether to keep the assets frozen or whether they're going to unfreeze them. And so the U.S. is concerned about this. They're saying, okay, well, we'll give our share of this 50 billion euro loan, and the way we're going to get paid back is we're going to get paid back on the interest earned from the frozen Russian assets, the 1.5 billion that we've been led to believe is actually going to Ukraine. Now we have the United States, according to the Financial Times, saying we're going to get paid from the interest earned on the Russian frozen assets is 1.5 billion. That's what's going to be used to pay us back for the money that we loaned to Ukraine. But we're concerned that you guys have to vote on this every 6 months on the freezing of the Russian frozen assets. And if you vote to unfreeze those assets, well, then, you know, we're screwed with the money that we've loaned to Ukraine. How are we going to get paid back? So, I mean, I'm completely lost on the interest earned from the 300 billion. What's it going to be used for? Is it going to be used to be given to Ukraine, or is the interest earned on the 300 billion going to be used to pay back lenders? Which one? It can't be both. We're not talking about that much money. We're talking about 1.5 billion, maybe 2 billion, 2.5 billion tops. And so the EU is going to freeze the money indefinitely in order to ease U.S. concerns forever. What a grift, man. What a freaking grift all of this is. It's such a grift. And didn't I do a story yesterday, talk about a story yesterday with private lenders who gave Ukraine billions, BlackRock, PIMCO, and what happened to them? Haircut. 34, 37% haircut. It was either a haircut or they were going to lose all their money that they lent to Ukraine. So just yesterday, we got news that private lenders, they're screwed. They're not getting their money back, and they had to take a huge haircut, and they're going to take an even bigger haircut, believe me. They're never going to see their money. And right after the announcement that private lenders are going to have to take a haircut, we get this story from the Financial Times talking about how the EU and the United States are going to give $50 billion to Ukraine. And who's on the hook for this $50 billion? The EU member states and the United States. They're the lenders in this case. This is just such a grift, man. Such a grift. I've lost track of all the money that's going to Ukraine. I really have. Hungary is saying that they're going to block $6.5 billion that's earmarked for the Zelensky regime. And they're blocking this money. This is EU money, $6.5 billion that's supposed to go to the Zelensky regime. And Hungary's going to block this money because of the story that I was talking about yesterday, where Ukraine blocked the oil transit to Hungary and to Slovakia. So now Hungary came out with an announcement saying, okay, you're blocking oil transit to Hungary and Slovakia. Well, we're going to block the $6.5 billion that the European Union is supposed to give you. 50 billion, 6.5 billion, 1.5 billion. I mean, I've lost track, man. It's deliberate. I think it's deliberate. I think they want us to lose track of all the money that's going to Ukraine. That's what I think. Oh, boy. So the Kremlin, Peskov, the spokesman, he said, with the decision of the European Union to freeze the Russian funds forever, freeze the Russian assets, the 300 billion, forever, indefinitely, Peskov said, such acts of thievery cannot remain without a response. This money is not only stolen, but also spent to buy weapons. It's hard to imagine anything worse. Other countries, non-collective West countries, very wealthy investors, oligarchs, kings of countries, crown princes, they're looking at what the European Union is doing, and they're saying, get our money out of the EU. Get our freaking money out of the EU. We're going to freeze it forever. That is what the European Union is saying. We're going to keep this money frozen forever, ever, ever. That means 1.5 billion in interest being earned forever, indefinitely, even after the conflict is resolved, right? Forever. What a grift, man. What a grift. Let's see, what did Peter Sciarto say? As long as this issue is not resolved by Ukraine, talking about the blocking of oil to Hungary, as long as this issue is not resolved by Ukraine, everyone should forget about the payment of the 6.5 billion of the European Peace Facility compensation for arms transfer. The European Peace Facility compensation for arms transfer, 6.5 billion, which Hungary's going to block. What a name, the European Peace Facility compensation for arms transfers. It's just a joke, man. Sciarto said, Ukraine's decision to not allow Lukoil to transit oil supplies through Ukraine poses a fundamental threat to the security of energy supplies to Hungary and Slovakia. Sciarto said, describing Kiev's moves as unacceptable and incomprehensible, as well as incompatible with its aspirations to join the EU. Just yesterday, I talked about a story where private lenders got screwed because they were dumb enough to give money to Ukraine. And now we're going to have 50 billion of collective West money being loaned to Ukraine. They don't learn. They don't learn. But then again, what do they care? It's not their money. It's taxpayer money or it's printed money, and they're going to earn the interest. The collective West political class, they're going to earn the interest indefinitely. they're going to get that interest forever. This should be my clown world, but it's not. So let's talk about this Time article with the title, Ukraine's Plan to Survive Trump. So in this Time article, they say that the Zelensky regime, they are trying to figure out how do they survive a Trump presidency. Because Trump is talking about peace, he's talking about solving the conflict in Ukraine, and they can't have none of that. They're afraid that Trump is going to give in to Putin, that he is going to agree to Putin's peace formula, and Ukraine is trying to figure out how do they survive Trump. And so the Time article says that Zelensky and his administration, their plan is to survive Trump for the first 5 to 8 months, because they believe that's when Trump and J.D. Vance are going to be at their most dangerous when it comes to talking about peace. That's when they're going to really want to try and resolve the conflict in Ukraine. So for the first 8 months, Trump is going to really be talking about peace and trying to solve the conflict in Ukraine. Zelensky and the Zelensky regime, they're going to resist. It's going to be very difficult, but they believe after 8 months, Trump is going to see that Putin cannot be trusted. Not Ukraine, not the European Union, not the United States, which failed to enforce Minsk I, failed to enforce Minsk II, sabotaged the 2022 ceasefire deal with Boris Johnson going to Kiev. Nope, it's going to be Putin that cannot be trusted. Anyway, they say that Putin's not going to, that Trump's going to see that Putin cannot be trusted. And then according to Time and according to Zelensky administration officials that they interviewed, then Trump is going to take a much more aggressive position with regards to Russia, and he's going to see that Putin is not to be trusted, and then he's going to side with Project Ukraine, side with Zelensky, and start to pour in weapons and money. And the reason that the Zelensky regime is saying this, what do they have to go off of in this belief that Trump is going to, after 8 months, Trump is going to side with Ukraine and really start to escalate and become aggressive with Russia? The reason they're saying this is because of the Boris Johnson Daily Mail article and Boris Johnson's trip to the United States where he met with Trump. In the article where Boris Johnson said that he believes with time, Trump could be brought to the position where he is for escalation and for weapons to Ukraine and long-range ATACMS and all of these things. I talked about the Boris Johnson article in the Daily Mail, and that's the case that Boris Johnson put out there. And the Zelensky regime, once again, they are buying what Boris Johnson is selling them. My God, how dumb do you have to be? Did you not learn the first time around with Boris Johnson? Did you not learn your lesson then when Boris Johnson sabotaged a very, very good ceasefire deal in 2022? You didn't learn your lesson, Zelensky regime. Nope, you didn't learn. And so Boris Johnson puts out this article in the Daily Mail. He talks about his trip to Mar-a-Lago. And Boris Johnson talks about how over time, Trump could get very aggressive with Russia and escalate the conflict to the point of a Ukraine victory. We just have to give Trump time. Trump just needs to be given time to see that Putin can't be trusted. And once he sees that there's no trust and there's no way to make a deal with Putin, well, then Trump's going to go all in when it comes to Project Ukraine. They are so mistaken. They really are mistaken, and they're believing Boris Johnson again, much to what's going to be to their demise, believing Boris Johnson. Oh boy, so that's the Time article. Kalua Kuleba is in China. This is the first I believe this is the first trip from a Ukraine government official, a high-level official, to China. And Kuleba went to China in order to convince China to sign up to Zelensky's peace formula, peace formula, and he wanted to convince China to agree to the Zelensky peace formula. And now we are getting reports saying that Kuleba is ready to negotiate with Russia, and it looks like the Chinese brought Kuleba over to their side. So he goes there in order to try and talk the Chinese into siding with Ukraine and their peace ideas, their peace plan. And now it looks like Kuleba is going to leave China. I believe tomorrow he's leaving China. A long trip, like a 2-3 day trip to China, but he's going to be leaving China with the Chinese convincing him, you gotta negotiate with Putin, you gotta negotiate with Russia, forget your peace plan. You need to look at our peace roadmap. That's the way it looks. So that's Kuleba in China. Ukraine is ready to negotiate with China, Kuleba said in a conversation with the head of the Chinese Foreign Ministry. And Zelensky, he was in Kiev meeting with the Vatican foreign minister. And Zelensky said that we have to finish the war as soon as possible. That is what he told the Vatican foreign minister. We have to finish the war. But Zelensky told the Vatican foreign minister that the only plan is his peace formula. Peace formula, that is the only plan. That is what he told the Vatican foreign minister. So Kuleba is going to come back with a message from China. Forget our peace formula. We need to see things the way Russia sees it, the way China sees it. Forget our peace plan. And Zelensky is telling the Vatican the only peace plan is Ukraine's peace plan, which is not a peace plan at all. We've gone over the Ukraine peace plan. The Zelensky peace plan is more of a Russia capitulation. It's not really a peace plan. It's not based in anything even remotely close to reality. So we had, a poll that was conducted in Ukraine the other day, a Ukraine survey, not a Russian survey, not a U.S. survey, a Ukraine survey. And it said that Ukrainians are ready to concede territory for peace. And the number of Ukrainians, the percentage of Ukrainians that are ready to concede territory for peace actually grew to 30% or more than 30%. It was 10%. I believe last year when this poll was conducted, or 6 months ago or last year when this poll was taken, it was at 10% ready to concede territory for peace. Now it's 30% or over 30%. So we can see where all of this is going. Ukraine is slowly, they're being brought to reality. And that reality is negotiations. Capitulation, to be more honest. They're going to have to realize that they've lost this conflict and they're going to have to capitulate. So, that's the survey that was done in Ukraine, and the situation on the front lines, every day it gets worse and worse for the Ukraine military. And yesterday we actually got news from the Russian Ministry of Defense, which claimed that they sent an Iskander-M missile in the region of Kharkov, and this missile annihilated 50 foreign collective West instructors. Now, this is from the Russian Ministry of Defense, so I don't know if this can be believed, especially the number of 50 instructors. Take it with a grain of salt, this report. But that is what the Russian Ministry of Defense is saying. If this is true, then this is a huge deal. And I want to be very clear, if this is true, and this is from the Russian Ministry of Defense. So once again, take this report with a grain of salt, with a big grain of salt. But 50 instructors, it's a lot. That is a lot. Foreign instructors. If it's true, that's going to be catastrophic for the collective West. From what I understand, 18 of those instructors, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, were from the UK. Anyway, we had that story from yesterday. And I think we can now, talk clown world. This is one long light right here. I feel like I'm waiting here forever. So let's talk clown world, and I've got two clown world stories. The first one is Harris. We're going to get back to the election. Trump and Harris. And we got this title from Politico. Harris and Trump launch lines of attack, a crook, or dumb as a rock. Their comments provide a glimpse into the two candidates' expected lines of attack. That's the expected lines of attack. A crook or dumb as a rock. Notice in the title that in single quotes, you have dumb as a rock. But a crook, you don't have that in single quotes. You notice that? Crook, not in single quotes. Dumb as a rock in single quotes. Anyway, that's going to be the line. That is going to be the line. The prosecutor versus the crook. That's what they're going to go with. And Politico, they also put out an article with the title, House GOP leaders urge members stop making race comments about Harris. So Mike Johnson, he is telling the GOP House members, don't talk about Harris, don't talk about her race, her gender, none of that stuff. So the Trump campaign's going to have to figure out a line of attack, because if they start going with anything that can be connected, to Kamala Harris, her race, her gender, any of that stuff, the collective West media is going to really hit Trump hard, hit the Trump campaign hard. So that is the article from Politico. And finally, let's talk about the man that the BBC says might have blown up the Nord Stream pipeline, Zelensky, who is now the ambassador to the UK, the Ukraine ambassador to the UK. I thought Reznikov was the ambassador to the UK. Whatever happened to that? It's not Reznikov anymore. It's Zelensky, and Zelensky wearing a suit and tie. He suited up, and he gave a speech in London, I believe. And he said that people in the UK, people in the collective West, they have to agree to give up their freedoms because of a conflict with Russia. That's what he said. In the speech, he said, people in Britain, you just have to get used to the fact that conflict is coming, war is coming, and your freedoms are going to be gone. Let me read you. Let me just step over here and read you what Zelensky said. People must agree to give up freedoms for survival. Kiev's ex-top general, waging a war means that a state has to use all its resources, including economics, finance, population, and allies. Zelensky stated in a speech that he published in full on social media, society must agree to temporarily give up a range of freedoms for the sake of survival. I think the British political elite, I think they're going to really like Ambassador Zelensky. I think he's going to get along really, really well with the political elite of Britain. They listened to Zelensky's speech and they said, war, more war, check, all good. Citizens are going to have to give up their freedoms. All good. I think the political class is going to really take a liking to Zelensky. The man who the BBC says, and this is the BBC that said it, allegedly, he was he could have been the mastermind behind the Nord Stream pipeline bombing, but you know what? Just make him ambassador to the UK. It's a clown world, everybody. It is a clown world, and that's the video. theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X, and go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like the shirt I'm wearing today. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Take care.